in Arizona area in a self-made rocket in 2014, but suffered injuries from the flight that had him using a walker for 2 weeks, according to the Washington Post. Lord have mercy. Hughes converted to believing in a flat Earth while fundraising for Saturday's flight. In research, Flat Earth is the main sponsor of his rocket, which cost the 61-year-old limousine driver $20,000 to build. He hopes a subsequent launch will enable him to go far enough away from the ground to take a photo of the Earth to prove that it is indeed flat. He says, I don't believe in science, he's told the AP. I know about the aerodynamics and fluid dynamics, about how things move through the air, about the certain size of rocket nozzles and thrust, but that's not science. That's just a formula. There's no difference between science and science fiction. A rocket launch could be dangerous to Hughes because of G-forces that can cause extreme pressure on a person's body during a flight and even make him pass out because of changes in blood pressure in different parts of the body. According to Go Flight Medicine, loss of oxygen in the brain can cause seizures or even amnesia in some pilots. So most professional pilots wear special suits to counteract the G-forces, but not Mike Hughes. He's going to do it without anything. So this should be quite interesting. The Earth is not flat. He says, what comes to mind when I think of self-made rockets and self-rocket science? Mad. Very interesting. Listen, everybody needs something to do. I suppose this is one of his things. Look, he gets some PR. He gets the news trucks out there. Come on. If the Earth was flat, don't you think NASA would understand that? Don't you think astronauts would have said something? There's plenty of pilots would have realized that. Plenty. But that's my takeaway. Like I say, the guy's probably having a great time. And maybe he, in his own mind, and I guess there are people that still do say that we have not been to the moon. There's those folks out there. So listen, it makes it interesting, and it gives us something to talk about. It's funny. It's interesting. It doesn't seem rational, but hey, who's normal anyway, right? There's a GoFundMe page that was set up for Charlie Manson for his funeral expenses. Oh yeah, there's people that were wishing that they could do something really great for Charlie Manson, knowing what a legacy that he lived and gave us. But GoFundMe decided they were going to take it down, according to TMZ. The campaign was launched by John Michael Jones, who managed to raise $972 before the page was shut down. The proceeds generated from the fundraiser were intended to go towards covering the legal travel and burial costs involving in claiming Manson's remains in California. Manson died this past Sunday after nearly a half a century in prison at the age of 83. According to the International Business Times, they reported there was a 10-day window for family members to claim Manson's body, and if they failed to do so, his remains would be cremated, and any expenses incurred would be taken from his assets. So Jones created the page to assist Manson's grandson, Jason Freeman, and said it was disheartening situation that GoFundMe took it down. He says, it breaks my heart to see Jason now suffering from the same prejudices and hate, discrimination, and deliberate lies that his grandfather endured for 48 years. Okay, so they believe that Manson didn't do anything. Freeman is a friend of Jones and was determined to not give up on his fundraising efforts. If we can't raise money with GoFundMe, we'll find it another way, according to Freeman. He was telling the New York Daily News, it will definitely be a group effort. It's not just one person. It's a lot of people holding hands. The 41-year-old learned the crowdsourcing page had been deactivated on Thanksgiving and said he had no idea why the company had pulled the plug on the campaign. A spokesperson from GoFundMe confirmed to TMZ that the page had been closed and the donors were refunded. However, no explanation was offered as to why. I wonder why. Charlie Manson, why wouldn't he get his own GoFundMe page? I get that his family members were not responsible for the whole deal, but we don't need to be raising money for a special funeral to honor a man who doesn't deserve, in my opinion, any great digs here being buried or having any special funeral. They'll give him a prison funeral. They'll dispose of him somewhere. I have a perfect place, and I thought about this. Where would we put Charlie? I'd flush him down the friggin' toilet because he didn't think about the lives that he killed. The poor actress, pregnant, slashed her belly open and brainwashed these people, manipulated these people, and was evil. Pure, unadulterated evil. Good riddance, Charlie. And GoFundMe, thank you for taking the page down. There are people on GoFundMe that legitimately need the money. When you see somebody that's raising money for, cancer, they have a child that's dying, their home was destroyed because of flood, hurricane, things like that. Last trip to Disney for a child that has a brain tumor, things like that. Worthwhile GoFundMe page endeavors. Cool, but not for Charlie Manson's death. Are you kidding me? How ridiculous. There's always somebody. We'll get the job done. Yeah, there's going to be some idiots out there they'll want to do it. Do you hear about this one mother of a football star detained in Chinese prison since September 2016 is now pleading for Trump's help to bring her son home? Ball State University linebacker Wendell Brown, 30, lived in China for a year before attending a party where he declined to have drinks with some locals. And so if you know anything about Chinese custom, if somebody offers you a drink, invites you to have a drink, they say it's very disrespectful in their eyes to turn it down. And they believe that that's exactly what happened here. And so anyways, the mother, very distraught. Brown had gone to China to teach English and coach, and his mother, Annette Brown, was telling Fox on Friday that the Chinese state is attempting to charge Brown with international injury in a lengthy process, despite two lawyers whom his mother said proved his innocence. So he's in jail, and, they had the other release. So I guess they're just trying to see if they can get Trump, since the other three were UCLA players were freed. Why not free some more? But it leads me to wonder how many other Americans are detained there. This is the mom, by the way, Annette. Do we have the audio? Yeah, give me 1 second. We'll get it up here. But Annette had been on Fox and Friends a little bit earlier, and we do have that audio clip on which she would actually ask the president about her son's release and what he could do to actually bring that about. So, are we ready in the control room? All right, you're still trying to bring it up. You're supposed to. He says, don't rag on me. He says the computer is acted up. All right, but that's a Mac. Or they're not supposed to. Okay, well, when it happens, just let me know. Well, I have the transcript. So basically, if we can't get it right up, it says, I would humbly ask for President Trump to help my son, who's in an unfortunate situation, and I would be truly grateful and most definitely would thank him with no problem, Mrs. Brown said, because of the fact the father of one of the UCLA players, unfortunately, remember, he couldn't thank Donald Trump, couldn't bring it to him. He says, I would have no problem properly thanking him. Yeah, that was a shame. Yeah, the dad's an idiot. But this is self-grandizing behavior. Everybody knows it. Guy knows that Trump intervened. There's no other way to explain it. He goes, I don't know, just magically happened. Yeah, it didn't magically happen. Nothing magically just happens there. I mean, give me a break. Anyways, what did I say about idiots? Yeah, anyways. But the court this is the kind of one of the interesting factoids about the whole deal here is that the court originally said $100,000 would be fine to free Brown, but since rescinded the offer, once a month the U.S. consulate meets with Brown and takes a message back and forth between him and his family, but that's where it's at right now. So there was a scuffle. Supposedly he was trying to protect himself, and he was the one that the officers actually ended up detaining. He tried to tell his story that he got jumped because he didn't actually accept the drink. So that was kind of an unfortunate. The moral of the story there: take the drink. Don't insult the Chinese. I mean, if it's customary, as in Rome. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you know this, I mean, knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. That's what I say about the whole thing. You just have to learn from it. If you're going to China, that's what I say. Just put that in the back of your mind and say, okay, I am definitely going to take the drink. And I was going to say sake. What is the drink in China? They have American booze there, but sake is they must have their version. But in Japan, and I understand the real sake in Japan, if you're looking for something with a little kick, the real sake, that stuff will put you on the floor. The stuff that they actually make there compared to the stuff that they serve up here in Japanese restaurants, they say it's like half the alcohol quantity, but they say it's like gasoline. We're talking like 175 proof or something like that. Yeah, that's why you're seated. You're not standing in a bar. Yeah, and you get up very, very slowly. And I haven't had sake in D.C. when I lived there. When we'd go to Embassy Row and places like that, I remember drinking some sake. And I remember the first time I had sake, it was not funny. I was so lit when I stood up. All right, no drunkenness here. I didn't realize how strong it was. And I was much younger. All right, you forgive me, don't you? Trump's calling Turkey's Mideast issues that they've got going on over there a mess. This Thanksgiving holiday, Trump says he'll be speaking with the Turkish president about bringing peace to the mess that I inherited in the Middle East. Trump rallied during his campaign about the ongoing conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq, but boasted about progress in recent months under his watch. Trump says that in a tweet that he'll get it all done, but what a mistake in lives and dollars to be there in the first place. He says it's unclear exactly which countries he's referring to, but Trump has cited $6 trillion in the past to assets U.S. spending on conflicts in the Middle East. Listen, not a lot of people speak about it. A lot of people say, the Republicans seem like they're mute on this particular thing. You would think that President Trump would actually be getting some kudos. He'll get them here, but he's not going to get them from the mainstream media. They're not going to tout it that he actually wants to be a little bit more responsible with our military, with our spending, because, we've definitely had some poor leadership. And for 8 years under Obama, there was no real particular strategy. And now it seems like we have a military with purpose. You figure with real calculative measures to be able to combat issues like ISIS. And now we're starting to get some really good diplomacy, finally, out of countries like Russia regarding Syria now. And Iraq seems like they're winning there. And unfortunately, we got the Sunnis and all those issues now with Turkey. We learned that there's a mosque that was attacked when worshipers came in. About 180 now, 180 people dead in Turkey overnight. Very, very sad. But there's definitely, sadly to say, a lot of real bad issues still going on in the middle. It's like quicksand. What did Paul Harvey say? The late commentary says all the Middle East is quicksand. He said, just get out. Remember the late newscaster Paul Harvey? That's his comment about the Middle East. He said we shouldn't even be there. We shouldn't even be part of it. Unfortunately, we have too many assets going on there, too many bases over there, and the world that we live in now as it is. We have to still have that presence there, but